Hello everybody, my name is Rob, and I have absolutely no idea how any of this works. However, I have been apparently granted the opportunity to go live on TikTok. I think, if anything, I'll get a free video out of it. But in any case, what are we doing tonight? Well, tonight I would like to share with you a adventure game that I am making, and I am currently making a adventure game that is for the tabletop RPG Mausritter. And the adventure game is especially to show that that we can do certain games. Solitaire, I would like to think that my adventure system is for any game, but in any case, that remains to be seen. I still need to finish it for this game. So what are we doing tonight? Tonight I have my adventure game system here, and we're going to be going over a couple turns or so for just a little while, an hour or so. So anyways, what do we have here, and how does this work, and what does it need, and how is it run? So, first of all, you would need the Mausritter core rulebook. You can find that on their website, mausritter.com. It is available digital, I believe, also on itch.io, and also on their website at mausritter.com. You can also find it through their Discord, the Mausritter Discord, which is in there somewhere. As far as what I need, or what you would need to be able to play my adventure game. So again, we have the Mausritter rules, and what else do we need? Well, we need, of course, our favorite math rocks, and our favorite math rocks, and we'd also need lots of paper. This game is designed to be played on a single sheet of A4 paper. I have some here. I used to use just simply copy paper, but I don't know. I do not know what happened to the copy paper. And I was using, but it just deteriorated really quickly. So I went from copy paper to cardstock here. It's a little bit more sturdier than regular copy paper, and it has worked rather well. I decided to switch to that, to the character sheets as well, because it just, I don't know what happens, but it just gets beat up here and there. So we have our materials, we have some of our materials, we have our rulebook. And what else do we need? If you enjoy solitaire games, and you do enjoy tabletop RPG and tabletop solitaire games, then I recommend in my adventure game that you use material and methods and supplements and any other little things that you use when you usually play solitaire tabletop RPGs, because you can use all of that in this adventure game, and it, at least according to me, from what I've experienced, it will just simply just mold right in, as far as I've concerned here. Because in this particular game that I am running currently, I'm using 4 other supplements. They are from the tabletop RPG Aikizu Ishii. I forget what it means. Let's see. Does it have it in here? Not something that I can find within 5 minutes. It is a feudal Japan inspired tabletop RPG based on Cairn and Into the Odd and Block, Dodge, Parry. Why am I including this? Because when you do play solitaire RPGs, and you roll on tables and tables and tables, and some of them get stale. And so you're like, well, how do I prevent some of them getting stale? And that is to use material that you are allowed to use. And these Aikazu Ishii is available on his Discord. It is free, and so are its 2 extra supplements. And why am I using these 2 extra supplements? Because I thought, why not feudal Japan? And I did a little bit of tweaking here and there, and it's apparently working, at least according to me. Again, because it's my system, and it is my system, and I like it, and of course I would think that it's working, but that's what you get when you decide to make things. Does it work? I don't know. Is it working for me? Yes. So, what else do you need? You have your rule sets. You have this rule set. You can also find this rule set on the Mausritter Discord, because I decided to just go ahead and post it up there, because I know people like to play tabletop RPGs solitaire. And because of that, even though it is still in development and still rocky and in shambles in some places, you can still play. Hello, I don't know how any of this works. And I don't need glasses, but your names are so tiny. Hello Steve, hello Cassie, hello Cosbema, hello Rice. Again, I don't know how any of this works, so things are a bit rough tonight. So anyways, we have our roll set. We have both roll sets. We have a couple extras. And then what do we need to play the game? Okay, so part of the game is you need a bestiary. And a bestiary is, of course, a list of monsters or creatures or encounters. But in this case, it is mostly creatures. Because according to the rules, I'll get to those later, but you can either make your own bestiary, or you can use one that's provided. I'm using one that's provided. This you can also find on you can also find on the Mausritter Discord. I believe it is up there. It's incomplete. There's not a bunch of stuff in it, and there is not a bunch of, and not all of the things are done, but it is up there, and you can still use it. And hello. I cannot read that. I am so sorry. You can still use it. This is good enough for me. I decided to print out a copy for myself. You do not have to print out a copy for yourself. It is unfinished, but it is available. I'm also decided to use this because this has a short list, because sometimes you need a short list, and I'm also going to be using a couple things from here, and again the other supplements that I mentioned. So what else do you need? We have a bestiary, we have our rules. Now, what do you do in the game? In the game is a solitaire map drawing, journaling kind of game, like 20. I've heard both ways, but I am going to say 20 drawn, Basilisk, and a number of other draw and RPG solitaire games that I've seen. Lantern, I forget what it's called. There's 2 of them, and it is another map drawing tutorial tabletop RPG. So it is one of those. So we have our bestiary, we have our rule sets, and we need a piece of paper for our map. That is what this one is. This is a game in progress. And then what else do we need? We need to create some characters. I already have a set of characters here, because Again, I didn't want to take up all this time to make a bunch of slow things and just go back and forth rule books like you do. I did not want to do this. I just wanted to show the game being played. So again, you need a party of 1 to 5 characters in order to play. Hello, Dank Souls. Hello, Cash Brown 442. Hello, Fluffy on Paws, and Danny Caddis. I cannot read. Apologies, I cannot read. Again, I don't know how this works. So, again, we have. Where are we? We have our rule set. We have our bestiary. We have characters. We also need a piece of paper for the map that we're going to draw. And we also need a character journal. This is part of the journaling part of the Hello Resboy and Dale Scott game. This is the journaling part of the journal. You can go fancy if you want. You don't need to. The leaves folded in half and smooth it down. This will get you through a number of turns. I did not know I was that low. Which is fine. We have other things. You don't need a fancy notebook. You don't need a fancy notebook. You don't need a fancy journal. Again, you don't need them. But it doesn't hurt. This is. I don't know how long this is. This is at least 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 2.5 weeks, a month of gameplay in here. And I never thought I would get down to the last couple pages, but yeah, here we are. Okay, so this is our journal. This is where we write down what happens during our turns. And this is the map that we create while we are taking our turns. So, how does this work? Okay, first of all, in order to start, we need some starting features on the map. The starting features on the map that I decided on for this particular playthrough is this obelisk over here, this village over here, this dungeon down here, and this map feature right here. Okay, so what are these places? These places are places that you draw. Places that you draw, while these two represent the areas of adventure that your characters are going in. So, another thing that you might need, you don't have to, but in order to keep track of yourself on the map, and where you are and where you were, I use little tokens. They don't have to be little tokens that look like mice critters or animal critters or anything like that. But again, that's what I like to use, and that's what I recommend in the rules. So, how do we set up? First of all, we have to have all of our stuff within easy reach. Our math rocks and our writing implements, and then we need to have a blank piece of paper in front of us. It will look like this, but it can end up to be looking something like this. We can also have, eventually, nope, wrong paper, wrong paper, wrong paper, and wrong paper, and wrong paper, and there it is. Eventually, again, as you can see the state of this paper, I do not know how this happens. luckily I was able to capture this. But again, eventually we'll be able to be dungeon delving and going into dungeons. The same rules apply. It's room to room, point to point, which is exactly the same thing, except the rooms are a bit square. So, we have our blank map. What do we do? Well, first of all, we decide on our starting features. On our starting features, I've already done that here, so we do not need to do it again. There it is. Everything's fine, nothing was broken. So anyways, we have our starting blank piece of paper. And then we decide on what features we want to give it. In my case, we decided on a spider forest, and the spider forest is blocking an obvious path to our goal. Our goal is we're trying to get back home in less than 12. Yeah, 12 to 14. In less than 12 to 14 turns. Otherwise, the guild finds us, and they're very they're very pissed off at us for taking up guild resources to find adventurers like themselves, and then in order to placate the guild finds us, and the game ends, and we get a score based on that. But eventually, we are trying to make our way home without the help of the guild, and we can tell the guild off. That's a couple of points, but the main goal is to try to get home before that happens. Now, what is in our way is this massive obstacle in between our starting location and our end location, just so that you can't simply go straight to it. As you can see by the map here, though, that's not always a possibility, but this just ensures that players can't think that, oh, I can just, and in any case, they can't just. So, we have our starting features, our starting location, and our goal locations. So, what is the first thing that we do? We figure out our obstacle. We figure out our starting location. Here, our starting location was a hello, sunflower. Speaking of which, I believe our starting location was a field of sunflowers with an obelisk in them. That's probably wrong, but we could take a quick look. And see what our starting location may have been. In any case, we have a number of different starting locations. There's guess who was not prepared today? Me. I was not prepared. Nobody is prepared for anything. No one. They may say they're prepared, but guess what? No one is prepared. Nobody. Okay, there we go. Starting location, and okay, I believe it was I think it was a wooded area. I'm gonna have to change some of this stuff because it does not make any sense. So, what do we need to play? Alright, let's see, we are at the player token. Alright, now, the first thing that we need to do on our turn turn is to figure out what we can do on our turn and how our turns run. So, let's just go ahead and get started here. The goal of the game is to send the player on an adventure. And the adventure consists of trying to get from point A to point B and trying to pass through every point in between. And while you're traveling through points, you are not always safe. And in order to see how safe you are, you do need to do a what I'm calling a search check. So, where are we at? We are right here. I believe we just entered this. We just entered this hill location. We just entered this location that is by this hill spot, which is where we were last turn. So let us go into our next point, which is this point right here. Now, I am using these. I don't know what else to call them. These feudal Japan supplements, because I wanted to do a little bit of something different, and this was here. So this was available, so that is what I chose. Now we are moving from this location to this location. What happens when we get there? What is the first thing that we do during our turn? So the first thing that we do during our turn is we need to check what is around us and see if there is anything there with us in this turn, in this location. So that is what I'm calling a search check, but we need to figure out. But again, before we do that, we need to figure out where we are at. How do I determine this? So to determine this, I am using a location table, a roll of 2d6, and I need to pick the lowest. Which gives us the type of location that we are traveling into. Our roll got us a 4, and that means we are traveling into another forest. Lovely. So let's go ahead and draw a little bit here. And then we have the player draw out their new location on the map. So what is in this forest? Let's take a look. Let's take a look at Mausritter rules to see to see if we can't get any more details about our location. So let's go ahead and go to the again, it is a hex crawl toolbox, but what is a point but what is a hex but a point with a shape around it, and what is a point but a hex? But a hex without a point around it. So I figured that if these descriptions work for hexes, and they can work just the same for points. So what do we do next? We have our location. We need to give it a little bit of detail. Let's take a look at the landmarks table. We rolled a 2d6. We rolled a 1 on our landmarks table, and according to Mausritter, there's a little anthill here. Let's go ahead and continue the hills. Just slightly. So we're in a forest with a bit of an anthill. And again, this is to help the player to describe and create a picture in their mind as to where they are at. To pick a landmark, we roll a 2d20. The next step in finding a location, let's see, landmark, and then we need to go to extra detail. Which is a 2d6 and a 2d8. We got a 1 and a 6. Well, it says settlement. And I've been looking for a settlement. But you know what? I am going to use one of the player's abilities that I give the player. And one of the abilities that I give the player is an ability called, that I like to call Guts. And when a player decides to become an adventurer, they do so with, let's call it hidden knowledge or intuitive knowledge. And this intuitive knowledge allows the player to kind of have more agency within the game. And in order to represent that, I allow the player to manipulate or change one roll during their turn to see if they can't get a different result. And I'm going to use that player power here just to show how this system works. And in order to show that, I'm going to change the well, we may not need to, so let's take a look and see if we can't come up with anything with what we have. And no, I don't believe we can do anything with what we have. So we're going to change the roll. Even though I've been dying for a settlement, so I can do something with these characters. But since I'm trying to show stuff, I'm just going to swap the 1 for 2. And let's see. What is our description here? And our description is there's supposed to be a hermit's hut here, and we're just going to say that nobody's home. Nobody's home right now, so we don't mess with NPCs. That's really not something that you should do when you're just trying to learn something. So we're going to say nobody's home in the hermit's hut. We have our location. Now we need to check. We need to look around. We need to see if there are any paths leading away from the location, so we can continue on our journey and keep heading towards our goal. In order to represent paths, we use these little lines here to connect with the different locations and to denote where the next location is going to be. So let's go ahead and check how many paths are leading away, because we can do a lot of looking around and a lot of seeing. And I can see a way out there, I can see a way out there, and that is what this turn represents. So we have 2 paths only. We have 2 paths only leading away from this location. And we need to figure out what directions those paths are headed towards. So our first roll is a 4, which is, again, not ideal, because the number of directions a path can lead away is 8. And it is the 8 compass points on a compass. It is represented by a d8 from 1 to 4. Again, we are trying to go in this direction, And since the top direction is 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, that leads us back to the hills, and we have already rolled that direction. It is leading into a direction where you've already gone, so we can go ahead and we can either re-roll that, or we can keep it. We don't want to keep it, so we're going to go ahead and re-roll the direction. And that is 6. That's even worse. 4, 5, and 6. Again, it is pointing away from where we want to go. However, there were 2 paths, so we need to see if not all is lost yet. Not all is lost yet, so we need to go ahead and see if we get another path and it's more conducive to what we want. Thank goodness we got an 8. I do not know what I would have done if we had gotten anything else. So we have a path leading towards our goal. So now that we are in our location, evidently we need to see if we are safe on our location or not. In our location or not, and I am calling that whether or not the location is haunted, because we are fighting beasts and monsters, and not everything is a friendly face. So we need to check to see if we are safe, and that is what the haunted roll is. You'll notice on this map, there is a 7 on the map, and that is our difficulty rating of the map. If we, and I have to look this up every single time because I forget. In order to roll for danger, we need to roll equal to and let's see, where is it? It is, there it is. Greater than or equal to. So we need to roll 2d20, and we need to pick the lowest, and if it is greater than or equal to the map's difficulty number, and then the place is haunted, and we have found a monster to fight there. So let's go ahead and roll 2d20. And keeping the lowest is a 3. It is not greater than or equal to 2, so we did not run into a monster. However, let's go ahead and say that, oops, we did run into a monster, just to show how combat works here, and combat is essentially, uses the Mausritter combat system. But in order to do that, we need to go ahead and get into our journal here. And I forgot that I had a turn in progress. So let's go ahead and just save that for later. Now, in journaling, I do give you journaling advice, but you are free to journal how you please. But this is the way that I journal, and this is the way that I recommend journaling. And this is the way that I'm going to show in this example. So let's go ahead. We need to know what turn we are on. We are on turn 8. So let's go ahead and call this turn 8A. Just for the record. And then what did we get? We got a slightly forested area with an anthill, an abandoned hermit's hut, and it's slightly, it's a bit thicker than normal, and nobody is home. So how do we write that down in our journal? Let's see. Northwest of the hills. Let's go ahead and go with that. And let's go with northwest of the hills. northwest of the hills. The players run into more forest. There is a small colony of ants. There is a small colony of ants. There is also an abandoned hermit's hut. Now, while I'm sitting here playing, I am doing this as I'm rolling. But again, I am going to recommend that you journal after you have rolled everything and before combat. So let's go ahead and let them. And let's see, where were we? We were at the hermit's hut, but no one is home. And let's see, let's keep track of our pass. Need the way. One south and one north. One north. And let's see, we are rolling that they do run into an encounter. And let's see. How do we describe that they have found something that is hunting them? Let's go ahead and go with north. However, let's see, that path let's say that path is guarded by a aggressive, and when we roll for our monster, when we pick the lowest, we look at the other die, and that other die, if we did find a monster, is the monster that we fight. When we look at that other die, that die's number is the number of the monster in the bestiary that we are supposed to fight. So, using our bestiary here, we are looking for monster number 11. It is a light silver golem. Okay, that is the monster we are fighting. So, let's go ahead and leave that there. And let's go ahead and get into a round of combat. Now, how does combat work within the journal? I like to have the character sheets here. And as you can see, we need to differentiate combat from turns. So we call combat turns rounds. And so, let's get just a little dramatic and say what initiates the combat. Let's go ahead and say something like let's do this. Sees the party brush the anthill, and he attacks in a rage. Okay, so now we have combat initiated. And Mausritter has who goes first rolls, so let's go ahead and take a look at that. And let's see. Nope. Wrong page. And yeah, there's combat. Okay. Who goes first? Not who's on first. That's an entirely different joke. Neither party is unsuspecting. So we need to check our decks to see who goes first against against the golems decks. So let's go ahead and get that set up. So whoever wins the decks roll goes first. Now who are we? The party has 3 members in it. Who are we using? Whose decks are we using to see who goes first? Unfortunately, that is the captain here. And I have the player pick a captain. And in certain situations like these, like picking decks, interacting with NPCs, most of the party defers to the captain unless the captain says otherwise. And we are trying to beat a 6 and a 11 to see who goes first. Less than or equal to the results. And alright, it says to make both saves, so let's go ahead. One is One is 12, one is 11. Neither of them made their saves. But the lower the save is the 11. So that means that unfortunately, the golem goes first. So let's take a look at how to run the golem. We go ahead and keep track of our rounds. So let's denote that this is a round of combat with the round title, and we go with round 1. Alright, let's take a look. Now, we run enemies as a solo player. We run enemies from top to bottom, left to right. Now for the golem, that means what I do in order to keep track of things is I like to have a number of easy stats up front, so I'm not going back and forth. And the golem has 15 HP, and 17 strength that I need to worry about. And we have the players right here, so we do not need to worry about the players. But again, I will put the players, those 2 stats, because those are the most used stats that I have used. So those are the stats that I have found to be the most relevant. So I keep track of these. Alright, so what happens first? What happens first is that the golem goes through its ability lists. Goes through its abilities. It has a D8 or D10 hammer. The D10 is for when they are using something two-handed, and in this instance, the enemy always uses their most powerful attack, so they will use a D10 to combat. Let's see, they also have a ability called pre-programmed. Its player rolls odd during initiative. Luckily, we did not. The hammer is one-handed and does D8 damage. If it is odd, the hammer is held in both hands and does D10. I must have that's a typo. So if it is even, it does D10. Well, we did not dodge a bullet. If a natural 1 is rolled, both dice are rolled for damage. Unfortunately, we only rolled a d10. So the golem is attacking two-handed with a d10 dice. And you think, well, that's not very much. But in my experience, things can change very, very, very quickly. I've had a number of characters have a number of characters I've almost lost, and a number of creatures that were taken down in one hit. So you never know with these things. So it's the creature's turn to attack. So let's go ahead and denote that first before we roll any damage. How do we do that? We state the creature's name and what they are attacking and how they are attacking, and then we wait to see the result. Okay, and we denote and we separate the creatures from the party in a list type fashion, so we can so to keep everything tidy and so that everything's not a mess. So here we go. Round 1, the golem strikes first. So let's go ahead and say Alright, let's say the golem strikes first and does. And then we need to go ahead and roll our damage die. Now, as far as who to pick to get damage, Mausritter recommends to spread the damage out. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to spread the damage out among these 3 characters. And now you see HP points and strength points kinda low, and maybe a bit not that high. But again, things can change really quickly. And you think, oh, this is fine, and then somebody rolls a 10, and your character has 15 HP. And that leaves you in a bit of hot water. So let's see, who does the golem attack? Let's go ahead with. We don't want them to attack any of our 10 HP characters, so we're going to go ahead and give them and spread the damage to West here. And let's go ahead and see how much damage West takes. Initiate the roll, and again, 9 points of damage. 9 points of damage. So, if I have done that to either of my 10 HP characters, they would be suffering with 1 HP. So, let's go ahead and make a mark of that. And let's see, it does 9 points of damage to West. And that is a bit of a beating. So let's go ahead and let's get our character stats on here. Let's see, 13 and 10 for West. For West, and 10 and 10 for, and let's see, 10 and 10 for Shun. And let's go ahead and put that somewhere over here. Here, let's put Yumi. Let's put Yumi over here. 10 HP and Did I not? No, I did. Okay. 9 strength. Okay, so why is strength important? Well, in Mausritter, once you lose your HP, which is your hit protection, not HP, it represents how much damage you can avoid being hit with, and once that goes, you take away strength. And when you start to take away strength, you need to save, and if you miss your strength saves, you become unconscious. And if you become unconscious for long enough, then then it's no more for that character, unfortunately. There are spells to revivify them or bring them back, but again, in Mausritter, magic is very, very, very rare. And this party does not have any of that magic. So, we have just given West a blow, and let's see. Instead of 13, they now have, and get my old calculator. 13 minus 9 is 4, and this is why I put these stats up here, which is just easy to change them, at least for me. So, now it is the party's turn. Who goes first? Well, who goes first is the highest dex, and unfortunately, I forget, so I have decided to keep track of the order they go in, and of course that is going to change eventually. But for now, this is the order in which they attack. So how do we attack? So, in order to attack, we need to first, in Mausritter, there is no, am I going to hit this thing? It is, how many times did I hit this thing? Or how much did I do to this thing? Because Mausritter does not have, am I gonna miss rolls? It just has straight direct damage rolls, which makes it a little bit more swingy, a little bit more deadly. And again, it makes it so that things can change very, very quickly. So, it is West's turn. How do we denote that in the journal? Let's see. Let's go ahead and make that in. Make a note of that, and let's say West. Let's see. It is West's turn, and they are attacking, and they just got a big hit. So let's go ahead and say West gets back up and back up. And let's do this. At Golem 4, and since we are doing the heavy attack with his chain sickle here, we need to roll a d8. Let's go ahead and roll, and they are doing 3 points of damage. 3 hits, so let's see, that takes away, that makes it 12. Okay, whose turn is it? Next, as you can see, the party is hurting a bit from not having a settlement throughout these number of turns. And again, I don't know how any of these run, so So again, we're just going by what we know. So I do not know what happened here, but okay, so I don't know what that was. But apparently we are back. So let's go ahead and okay, we are still live. So I don't know what happened, but in any case, we are back. So what were we doing? We were doing a combat round. And it is now Shun's turn. And what do they have? They have a Naginata. That is that long spear-like weapon. And it is two-handed, and he does a D10. So let's go ahead and see how much, if any, he does to the golem. So let's see. It is... how are we going to depict this? Let's see. Let us say... Give us a second. Let us say Shun steps up and strikes the golem and does... And does, he has a D10, so let's go ahead and see what we got there. 7. 7 is a very nice number. Let's see, what does that leave us with? 12 minus 7. And in case you're wondering why I'm not rolling my physical dice, it is because I'm rolling my digital dice. This is a little app that I like to use. It is called Sophie's Die, and it has all of the die. It is free, and it has every single die that you could need in a free app on the App Store. So it is called Sophie's Die, and I have been using this app for years, and it is one of the best dice rollers out there on the market. It does the little clackety clack math rock noises, and it has all of the die, and you don't have to pay a cent for it. So, no, I was not trying to get out of a bad roll, but I was simply trying to show you what I use instead of the physical die, and we still got our 7, so 7, 12 minus 7 is 5, and that leaves us with 5 HP for the golem. And again, you can see how this can go sideways really quickly for the enemy with 5 with 3 or more players, up to 5, it can swing wildly into the player's favor, and I am thinking about that and what to do. So, our next player character to go is Yumi, and they are attacking with an ebonwood crossbow, and I do not have that attack die. Oh boy. So, one of the things that you could do is you could also create your own treasure table if you want to, or you could use somebody else's treasure table. But in this instance, there it is, using my own treasure table that I created for something else. And when the player defeats certain enemies, I decide to go ahead and let them roll on treasure. And one of the treasures that they picked up was an ebonwood crossbow. And this ebonwood crossbow, let's see, it does... there it is. It is a two-handed weapon. It does D8 plus 2 damage. So let's go ahead and write that down. And when I created this, I wanted to give players something a little crazy, but not too crazy. But while Mausritter has its own treasure tables, they are they're fine, but after you've beaten your third mid-boss like creature, I want something different, and so that's what this was. So let's go ahead and see what damage they do. A D8 plus 2 right off the bat. And let's see here. Let's finish Shun's turn. First. And then let's go ahead and say what Yumi does. Yumi, and let's see. Let's go with Yumi sees an opportunity, and Yumi sees an opening and fires. Fires doing... well, she's already doing 2 points of damage so far, so how much more damage is she going to get out of this crossbow? Initiate, and then 3. So she's going to get 3 extra points, which is equals to 5. She loses a bolt. And let's go ahead and apply that to the golem. And that means that the golem is suffering. And now we'll have to make strength saves to ensure that they don't go down. However, damage was not done to their strength, but they do not need to make strength saves just yet because no damage was done to the strength. Okay, so let's go ahead. Doing 5. Doing 5 hits. And let's see, and just to save, or just to use up paper, let's go ahead and say, let's do a little bit of drama and say, let's say, the golem, let's say the golem cries in rage, just to have a little bit of used space here. Okay, now it is round 2. Turn 8, round 2. Let's go ahead and denote that up here. And again, let's underline it to make sure that it's more visible when you come back after leaving the game. So it is the golem's turn, and again the golem gets to make an attack. Let's say the golem. Let's go ahead. What do we say? Let us say that the golem picks a target and swings. So let's go ahead and do that. The and swings, doing. Let's see. Let's get out there. D10. Is that everybody? That is everybody. Nope, that's not everybody. Where is everybody? Everybody is up here, because of course they are. Okay, how much damage does the golem do? The golem does... Let's get our D10. Pray for a low roll. And it is not a low roll. So, who's going to get this 9 points of damage? Obviously, we don't want West to take it. Anybody else will be down to 1 HP. And I do not have any healing options available to me right now. So, who's going to take it? It doesn't matter who's going to take it, because we think this golem is going to be defeated in the next turn or so. And then we'll be able to get to do a little bit of patch up or upkeep. And so let's go ahead and say... Let's go with turn order. Let's go ahead and say Shun, because they did get in there a little bit. Let's go ahead and say Shun takes the damage. Doing 9 points of damage to Shun. 9. Okay, and where are they at here? They are right here, and let's go 1 HP and a prayer. Okay. It is now the party's turn again. And that means that West, go ahead, gets to go at least one more time. And they are going to strike with their sickle again, doing the 8 damage. Let's see, what does West do? How do we want to play this out in our heads? Lunge. Let's go with lunge, because they noticed the golem looked a bit weak, and they are going to try and finish the job. Let's see. West lunges in. West lunges in and strikes 4. Strikes 4. Let's see, where's our D8? Four damage, and that is done to strength. strength now, and when you lose all of your strength, then another way to defeat an enemy is to get rid of all of their strength, and when that happens, then they are truly defeated. So, 17 minus 4 is 13. But when it is in Golem's next turn, if they survive, they will have to make a strength save because damage is not done to their strength. And let's see, 4 hits. And then whose turn is it next? It is Shun's turn. Sorry about the damage, but you were the only person that could take it. Well, one of the only persons that could take it. You are doing D10. See how much you do. And you are doing 5. Let's go ahead and get that down. Apparently I need to pay more attention to my screen because I did not know what that security check was, or if that even existed. So hopefully that won't happen again. So let's see. Pivot is a funny word. All right, so let's go ahead and say pivots his, well, it's not really a blade. It's still a blade, but it's not a blade. So let's go ahead and say pivots himself. Round and swings for 5 damage. And let's see, 13 minus 5. Taking the golem even down lower. So maybe that gives Yumi an opportunity to finish them off, or for them to fail their strength save and be unable to attack next turn. So let's see. It is Yumi's turn. Let's see what did she do. Oh boy. Are you Ollie or Isle? I do not know. So let's see. She fires with her crossbow. And Yumi, let's see, how do we play this? Let's go with let's not do the spinny trick. Let's go ahead and just say takes aim. Let's go with that one. Let's see. Yumi takes aim with her crossbow and dings the golem for D8. Five plus 2 is 7. So we have 8 minus 7 is 1. I do not think the golem is going to make the strength roll, but you never know. You do not know. 4. And she loses up another bolt. For 7 hits. And let's go ahead and see if the golem makes its strength save. Where is that color? There it is. Initiate. It does not. So, that means the golem cannot attack this turn. So let's go ahead and say how that affects the golem. It affects the golem by... let's see. Let's say the golem is pretty tall, so let's go ahead and say they teeter. Teeter over, flat on the ground. Right, alright. That was round 2. But it's still not finished off yet. But the player does need to finish off the enemy. And so that means we need to go into round 3. So let's go ahead and go into round 3 here. Right here and say... with a holler, west. With a holler west, west, let's see, cracks at the skull. It is what it is. West takes a crack at the skull and does. I mean, we don't need to, but that's not a D8. Does enough damage to finish it off. Okay, now, this is not a creature wherein you would be allowed to roll on the treasure table. But, since we are trying to show some of the mechanics here, after combat, we would roll on the treasure table. So let's go ahead and just use the regular treasure table. Table and see if we roll anything that the player could use. And let's go ahead and just take 1, take 2. And see, and this table is a 2d6, pick the lowest. And our lowest here is 3. 3 is a crow charm. And that would let them roll on the small trinkets table, which is a couple of useful little treasures, but again, not much. Let's go ahead and see if we can't find that here in the roll set. And let's see, D6, and let's go ahead and use the roll that we got at 3. And it's a small breathing tube. What does he find? He finds the remains. Okay, now, after combat, what's next? After combat is upkeep. That allows the players to rest and recover. I created upkeep because they're just was not a lot of healing options for players in base Mausritter. I do not know why that is, but there's not health potions, there's not a few... magic is rare, and while you can rest, you have the standard rests. That it takes up a bit of time, but there's no like scrolls or potions or if you eat this, if you eat rations, you restore HP. So I decided to go ahead and make my own, and I call these little extras. I call these flasks. The flasks just let the player say that it lets a player say, ouch, that needs to be patched up. I am going to use this flask to patch that up. And that is what the flask allows the players to do. Is essentially I think it's allowed in Mausritter with player actions, but this is just a more straightforward approach, so that they can drink one for HP, or they can spray it on one of their pieces of gear, that sort of thing. And they get a number of flasks during upkeep, and this time they got four. So let's go ahead and say that let's get back into turn 8, and let's denote a new section, and let's go ahead and say that the player or party finds 4. Let's go ahead and let's give it a thing. Let's say that it's like, let's just use a berry since I've been using that. 4. And let's go ahead and let's just call them, let's take it to play on D&D since that's what I've been doing. Let's just call them wellberries. Now during upkeep you can take your player actions, so let's go ahead and say everybody takes a rest, a short rest, which brings all of the HP back up to full. Now, when you find treasure, you go ahead and need to put it into your inventory. Let's go ahead and I am using a Mausritter uses a token or card or miniature card like physical inventory system, but as a solo player that is a lot to keep track of still, with everything they need to keep track of. But I am just going to decide that they are using, that the player only uses the list format just to keep things a little bit simpler. So let's see, he found a breathing tube, so let's go ahead and make a note of that here. Okay, now we have taken our turn while we were in this location. Now we need to leave this location, and leaving this location happens the next day, or the next day or as they are, or the evening that they are leaving. So, in order to see if they get lost or successfully leave the location, I have to make a leaving location roll. And to do that, we go ahead and roll 2d4 and take a look at its table. Take a look at its table here. And let's see, it is a 1 and a 2. Both 1-to-1, both odds, both evens, both odds, both 3s, both 4s. Nothing bad happens and we are safe. So, how do we denote that? We say something like, party leaves safely the next day. Okay, and then we turn the page since we've used it up. And because another turn has gone by, the players use a ration per turn. We mark that on our character sheets. Shun is out of rations, and so is Yumi. Now the player can forage and find more, but we've already taken our turn. So let's go ahead and say to continue, we need to increase the turn number. Which is turn 9. And, of course, then we would need to go through the turn sequence again. So, that is how that... and they would be moving into the northwest area here. And that is how I am playing Mausritter Solitaire. Again, if you have other supplements like oracles or card decks or extra supplements that describe different things from different games, then you can go ahead and use those. I decided to use these, the Ikazu Ishi as supplements because they offered a different number of things because I wanted something different. And again, you can use anything you would like. It should work. So I do not know how to close this out, but I will say that if you have found this interesting and you want to grab these rules for yourself, you can go ahead and go over to the Mausritter.com website and find your way to the Discord, where I posted these rules and the bestiary into the Mausritter Discord under the workshops thread, and it is the project called Mausritter, which is the dungeon bit that I showed earlier of and the main name of this adventure game called Mausritter, and this little mini game or supplement, I suppose, to it is called Mouse Crawl, which is the point crawl version, and that you can find those in the Mausritter workshop thread. I have it inside the thread available to download, and you can easily download them and play this game. And it, as I have been trying to finish the game that I am in, but this game was started to say that I have finished a game and I have played this game. So, thank you for joining me tonight. I don't know anybody here, so I don't know if there's such a thing as raids or some such as that. So I do not know. But again, if you want to support the creation of Mausritter and Crypt and Mouse Crawl, and then I have a number of things on my store page that you can find, and they are right here on itch.io, as you can clearly see. Along with the Mausritter rules and several other supplements by people in the Mausritter community. So, once again, thank you very much for hanging out, and thank you to TikTok for allowing me to do this, and thank you for hanging out and taking a listen to me ramble on for an hour or so. So, once again, I will see you next time, and again, thank you very much.